Watch out for cash money, cause we landing down. Money making is my thing, cause I'm trying to be rich, trying to put away meals. That's why I'm in the studio dropping hits, dropping rap after rap like you sell key after key. Backed up by the best fresh, dropping beat after beat. My clique is the hot boys, best believe we so high and dangerous. If we ain't beef with the whole block. No fading us at all, player, cause we roll too deep. With AKs off safety, knocking busters off their feet. I go by the name WBG. I ride on chrome and the 98 Lexi S3. I'll bust it down for baby known as B3. Because I know one thing, he'll do the same for me. We family, cash money is the army, better yet a navy. So if you ever play heavy, look here, it ain't gravy. Don't try to knock me, player, cause I'll leave your head stale. Light you up real good, you will never get well. Cash money is the army, better yet a navy. So if you ever play heavy for you, it ain't gravy. Cash money is the army, better yet a navy. So if you ever play heavy for you, it ain't gravy. I got a path that you don't want.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast, powered by BETUS. Sign up today, get up to 150% on your first deposit and up to 125% on your second and third deposit, up to 2,000 of them things. All right, all you got to do is download the BETUS app. Or you can also go to the website, use the promo code YouTube150. Who Dat Nation, we back at it again for the second consecutive week. And the New Orleans Saints have won a football game. I mean, this has been some rare territory in 2024, but I can get used to this. I definitely can get used to the fact that the New Orleans Saints are on a 2-game winning streak. And the fact of the Falcons being on a 2-game losing streak. But I can tell you this right now. What I seen from the New Orleans Saints on Sunday was something definitely we need to discuss. You got to start asking the question, how long can the New Orleans Saints do this? To me, this game after the bye week could mean a lot for interim head coach Darren Rizzi. And also it can do wonders for the New Orleans Saints down the stretch. You know, going into this process of transitioning from head coach Dennis Allen to Darren Rizzi as the interim head coach, nobody really knew what to expect. People just felt like, there was blood coming out of the body and we just needed to patch up the wound. And the wound was, it was a gaping wound, right? And it needed to be addressed. And that was Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen was not the part. I think that we're all in agreement he was not the part. And it was affecting the fan base. It was affecting the team. It was affecting the culture. And the New Orleans Saints pulled the trigger. Now, we didn't expect what we have seen over the last couple of weeks. Of course, we thought that maybe they'll play a little bit more motivated. We felt like maybe some of the same issues would plague them. But, all in all, you got to be impressed with what you're seeing right now, the way that this team has responded to Darren Rizzi and the fact that they beat the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 20-17. And then this past Sunday, they knock off the Cleveland Browns 35-14. It wasn't the best win I've ever seen in my entire life. There were some things that they needed to work on. There were 5 penalties in the game, still had some holding penalties, still had some issues, when it comes to some of the assignments, a couple broke down coverages, some substitution issues. But all in all, this team is continuing to fight. They're continuing to battle and claw And it just seems like they are willing to step up and be able to, get themselves out of this hole that they dug themselves into. And it also just makes you wonder, what would have happened if the New Orleans Saints would have pulled the trigger on Dennis Allen earlier than they actually did? And it also makes me wonder, what would have happened if Gail Benson didn't intervene? How bad this season could have been if Gail Benson didn't intervene and force Mickey Loomis's hand in firing Dennis Allen? We probably wouldn't be looking at a 2-game winning streak. We'll probably be looking at a 9-game losing streak. And it's pretty obvious looking at this team, and it's insane that Mickey Loomis would go on local radio where thousands of people would hear him say that it's the injuries is the reason why this team hasn't been successful. It's not the players not responding to Dennis Allen. This is a guy, in my opinion, that is just, spiteful and has sour grapes. There's no way in the world you can look at this football team over the last couple of weeks and really believe wholeheartedly that this team was just dealing with injuries. There were times in these games over the last 2 weeks where we know for a fact the Saints probably would have quit if Dennis Allen was their coach. But it seems to me like these guys are willing to overcome adversity, try to fight with everything that they have. And there were things that could have went awry in this game versus Cleveland. For example, the interception by Taysom Hill. That could have easily blew up in the Saints' face. And how many times have we seen this season the Saints seem like, they're staying the course, they're 10-2, driving down this highway called, football. And all of a sudden, they look a certain way and they veer off the road. And then the next thing you know, the car is just total. It's in a woods somewhere, right? You can't recover it. Both airbags have imploded. It's not salvageable. But we've seen situations in this game versus the Cleveland Browns where the Saints responded. And, Darren Rizzi spoke about that at the press conference. I don't have the clip. I apologize for that, so I'll paraphrase it. He talked about how Taysom Hill, who was definitely the player of the game, and something has got to be wrong if he is not the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. But, when he turned the ball over, when he fumbled the football, when he threw an interception, he went to the locker room and Darren Rizzi was talking about how ticked off he was and how they had to calm him down. And now in a situation with Dennis Allen, if these two things would have occurred, I'm pretty sure we probably wouldn't have seen Taysom Hill for the rest of the game. We probably would have seen a downtick in his production. We probably would have seen him probably not at all. But Darren Rizzi, at halftime, went to Taysom Hill and assured him that we're going to need you down the stretch. That's what true leaders do. They don't shy away from the guys that are important to the team because they made a mistake, and they damn sure don't throw them under the bus by sticking them so far on the bench that you're going to need a GPS and a flashlight to find them. And in this process, and the vote of confidence that Darren Rizzi gave to Taysom Hill, he went out there and had one of his greatest games he's ever played as a member of the New Orleans Saints. Another thing that Darren Rizzi has done, the fact that we have been sitting up here week after week after week calling Cam Jordan washed, saying that Cam Jordan don't have it anymore. Now I will say this, Cam Jordan is 35 years old. So he's not the player that he once was when he first got drafted by the New Orleans Saints in 2011. But the fact that they, over the last couple of weeks, I'm talking about the Saints coaching staff, Darren Rizzi, gave him an uptick in his production, and he has been more active and has been a bright spot on his defense. We have seen the improvements when it came to, him out there with the pass rush, and also in this game where the Cleveland Browns only had 3.3 yards as a group running a football. If it was up to Dennis Allen, he would probably be sticking these guys on, out here that aren't better than Cam Jordan, But just for the simple fact that Cam Jordan is 35 years old, let's go ahead and put him on the bench because then the football analytics tell us that a 35-year-old guy shouldn't be starting over a 24 or 25-year-old kid. All I'm saying is Darren Rizzi improvements are showing, and these guys believe in Darren Rizzi. It makes a difference when you have a leader of men, when you have somebody that you feel like is going to stand in the trenches for you. They're not going to shy away. They're not going to throw you under the bus so they can keep their job or so the pressure won't be on them. They're going to add all of that pressure and they're going to stand on business. And this is what the New Orleans Saints are going through right now. They're going through a positive transition, and it was something that was needed. And I don't know what's going to happen with Darren Rizzi. I still haven't seen enough. I'm sorry. I still haven't seen enough for me to just say they should give him the job. But one thing I do appreciate about Darren Rizzi is the fact that the Saints feel like a football team again. And for the first time in nearly 3 years, the Saints feel like they have a true head coach, a true leader of men. I really enjoy listening to Darren Rizzi. And honestly, it's not just because they're winning. It's the fact that I really honestly believe he believes what he's saying. It's not tongue-in-cheek. It's not lip service. It's not politics or anything like that. This is a guy who is unapologetically themselves. And I talked about this on the halftime show in the second half watch along. I was talking about Jameis Winston. I said Jameis Winston is unapologetically himself. And because of that, that's why people gravitate to him. We gravitate to things that are real. That's the reason why people that are fake, phony, artificial always fall off. Why? Because they can't maintain that standard, because that's not who they are. Dennis Allen tried to play the role for the last 2.5 seasons as a head coach, but eventually everybody is going to realize that that ain't you. One of the most successful things in the world, like I always tell you, I love wrestling. When I think about a wrestler by the name of Stone Cold Steve Austin always would say, like, this is me with the volume turned all the way up. But he registered with people because he was himself. Dennis Allen never reached that level with Saints fans. To me, he never reached that level with his players. They probably like him. I don't think they wish ill will on him. I think that they, appreciate him. A lot of those defensive players feel like, they became the players that they are because of Dennis Allen. But you can like somebody, but that doesn't mean that person has your best interest. And at the time, Dennis Allen just doesn't have the best interest. Well, let me rephrase that. Dennis Allen isn't the best choice to lead this football team to where they need to be. That's just what it is, man. And Darren Rizzi right now is what the fan base needs, what this team needs, and they're buying into it. And it seems like these guys are having fun again. I mean, it don't feel like it's work. It don't feel like these guys are all uptight and stuff like that. It feels like they're loose and they're enjoying what they're doing and they're leaning on each other. And I feel like that was something that's missing. And for the last 2 weeks, it's starting to feel like this football team is getting it together. Now, the question is it too late? I would be shocked if the Saints run the table. I would be shocked if the Saints run the table. But one thing I do appreciate is these guys not quitting, not giving up. Now, some of us probably want these guys to give up because they feel like this is just fool's gold. We're basically setting ourselves up for failure because you're winning all these football games, but you're not addressing the needs that you actually need to address, right? A top 10 pick, getting a top 10 player in a draft. Let me ask y'all a question. All right, let me ask y'all a question. For all those out here that feel like the Saints need to tank and just give it up, phone it in, this is just fool's gold, yada, 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 setting yourself up for failure. How sure are you that whoever the New Orleans Saints pick in a top 10 will change the misfortunes of this franchise. Now, you can look around and name some players that's coming in, out of college. Shadir Sanders, Cam Ward, Will Campbell, Malachi Starks, guys like that, right? Great players on a collegiate level. But who's to say that they're going to hit the ground running right away? Who's to say that those guys are going to change the misfortunes of the New Orleans Saints? You don't know that for sure. The only thing that you can do, honestly, is just continue to build on what you already have. Now, I will say this. If you had a bad football team, like, for example, the Raiders, they're just terrible. They're terrible. They're awful. They're not a good football team. I think we all can agree with that. Giants, same way. Cleveland, same way. They're trying. Like, Cleveland tried to win on Sunday. They tried to beat the Saints. They just couldn't do it. They failed. So if that happens and you find yourself in the top 5, okay, cool. But why would you want to sit up here and watch the team fumble all over itself if it don't have to? And like I said, I appreciate them trying to work towards making their team better. And who's to say, like I said, if you get a guy, let's just say you fall out of the top 10, which as of right now, I think the Saints are just at 10. Unless, I know there's some things that changed. A couple games that were played in the afternoon. Let me make sure. Let me make sure that I'm saying this right. Because, okay, so as of right now, the Saints have the 10th pick in the draft. So they're still in the top 10. Right? But if you start winning again and, let's say you get to about 12 or 13, who's to say that you won't find a really good player at the 12th or the 13th pick? They have before. I mean, Lattimore, what was he? Pick number 11? Sheldon Rakers, when he was with the Saints, what was he like? Pick number 11 or 12 or something like that? So you can find guys that can be, a difference maker. I mean, Talese Fuaga. So all I'm saying is, I understand how people feel about, the draft pick and all that kind of stuff, but there's no guarantee that the guy that you're going to draft is going to be everything that you need them to be. And it's not like they're going to just change a team's misfortunes. Like, you don't know that for sure. Everything is a gamble. Everything is a gamble. So, and the only thing you can do is win. And like I said, it's not like they're playing in a division, I don't know, like the AFC North or the NFC North, where, it's kind of like, okay, we already know. I mean, you got the Lions who got 9 wins, 1 loss. You got the Green Bay Packers. I think they're somewhere like 7-2 or something. Like, it's not like that. You got you really got a good chance at getting yourself back into this situation. If you beat the Rams, you can find yourself really, going on a run here. Now, I think the Rams is going to be a tough matchup for the New Orleans Saints. It always is. But if you look at the next couple of weeks for the Atlanta Falcons and the way that they're playing right now, you have a really good chance. Tampa, you're missing Chris Godwin, Mike Evans dealing with a hamstring injury. The only player they really have that's really catching the ball consistently is tight end Cade Otton. So it's not like you just completely out of it. And the Saints and the Falcons have a bye week this coming week. This coming Sunday, they're on a bye. Saints got to play the Rams, and the Falcons got to play the Chargers. And if you watched that game last night, if you're watching this live on a Monday, Justin Herbert looked like he on another level right now. And he seems like he has a rapport with those wide receivers and tight ends that he have on that team. So I'm just saying, they have a really good defense over there. They get the pass rush. Teams have a really hard time scoring on them. So who's to say that you can't find yourself back into the thick of things if you can make a run at it? So all I'm saying is, I wouldn't just try to, just close the book that quickly. And honestly, I'm gonna just be 100% real with y'all. If there's a chance where the New Orleans Saints can make the Atlanta like it, I don't want to call them idiot, but look like straight fools by high stepping their way into the end zone on some Leon Lett type stuff, and we can be Don Beebe, come up behind them and knock the ball out right before they get to the end zone so it can roll back to the end zone for a touchback. I'm all for it. I'm all for it, man, because watching these boys get beat to sleep by Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos and looking at how my social media feeds from week after week when the Falcons was grandstanding and hot dogging and talking about how great they were and how the Saints suck and y'all ain't this, that, and the third, to watch them implode after they had nearly an insurmountable lead. Why wouldn't you want to fall? Why wouldn't you get on board for that? Why wouldn't you want to get on board for that? I'm all for it, man. This NFC South, I mean, this race can be very, very interesting. It's not over. It's not over. So why not? Why not? I'm all for it, man. I'm all for winning some football games and trying to crush the dreams of a teetering Atlanta Falcons team that can't stop traffic with a stop sign defensively. I'm good for that. Because man, let me tell you how bad things are right now. Like, so if you follow me on social media, you follow me on X, week after week, every time the Falcons start to pull away from the NFC South, you had people that was Falcon fans retweeting the things that I say. And some of the things I was saying it sounds ridiculous, in the grand scheme of things. At the beginning, you make your predictions and you try to, you try to like, okay, I hope I get this right. I'm trying to get it right. And sometimes, it makes you look crazy. So every single week, they're retweeting. And they all be, man, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about, over and over and over again, right? So Saints fired Dennis Allen. I've been saying this for weeks, like since I would say probably week 4. I was saying this for a week. I was like, we all know what the problem is. If the Saints get rid of Dennis Allen, then we know, like they knew for a fact the biggest issue was Dennis Allen. So I want y'all to notice something. When the Saints fired Dennis Allen, did y'all see that energy the same way? You probably didn't, because they knew exactly what we already knew. They knew that the New Orleans Saints was in the state that they were in. The state of the Saints, no pun intended, was the way it was because of Dennis Allen. Once Dennis Allen got fired, we see what happened. This team started to improve. They started to feel hungry. They started to feel like they had a chance to win. And guess what? Over the last couple of weeks, they've been winning football games. And I say that to say this. The Falcons on a 2-game losing streak, I ain't seeing the same energy. I'm seeing one person probably pop up that's standing on business. You got Falcon fans that were so willing to share all my stuff. Now they're blocking me, right? Why are you blocking me for? Like it was funny at first, right? Using all of the material when I was talking about the Falcons and retweeting it and saying all these things. Now all of a sudden you go through adversity and the next thing you know, like we can't hear from you no more. All I'm saying is this. If you're an Atlanta Falcon fan, I don't care if you win the division. I don't care if you if let's just say, okay, y'all pulled away enough that even though you're teetering down the stretch, like you woozy on the ropes, but you made it to the 12th round and now it's going to the decision. I don't care if that happens or not. I don't want to hear from a Falcon fan anymore because this is what I was saying. Falcon fans are grandstanders. They are hot doggers. That is who they are. You got some real ones out here, a handful of them, that will ride or die with the Falcons regardless. And hot doggers. And every time they go through some level of adversity, they're nowhere to be found. But when they feel like they got some type of competitive advantage, when they had Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates, that's all we heard was, oh, what y'all gonna do when we do this? What you gonna do? They was on some Hulk Hogan stuff. What you gonna do, brother? You know, like all this stuff right here. Now, all of a sudden, you go through some type of adverse times. I mean, 2-game losing streak, and they somewhere like missing. No, like ain't doubling down, tripling down on nothing. That's why I say I don't care if they end up winning the division. They can't tell me nothing. There's only 2 Falcon fans. If they come to me after this is all said and done, I will acknowledge. They stand on business, win, lose, or draw. They always got something to say, and I respect that. But the rest of them, they're exactly what I said they were. Grandstanders and hot doggers. Anybody can cheer for when they up. Anybody can rally when they up. But what happens at adverse times? That's my whole point. So that's the reason why I have, for a handful of them, I got respect for, but the majority of these Falcon fans, or lack thereof, I have zero respect for. If you're going to stand on business, stand on business. If you're going to try to go at me, go at me. If you're going to say these things and try to retweet my stuff, then keep that same energy when things don't go your way. Don't block me. Don't block me. I didn't say anything to you that was out of line. I still stand on business. So don't get mad because things ain't going your way. And don't talk to me or try to look me up if your team just so happened to, you know what I'm saying, you know, you want to talk some noise, because we all know what's going to happen. They're going to get beat to sleep in the first round, no matter if they're at home or away. Kirk Cousins is a statue back there. Look, you know how desperate and sad you have to be to believe that Kirk Cousins is going to take you somewhere. You trying to stand or call yourself standing on business with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. You trying to be in people's chat. You trying to retweet people's tweets with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Who have the Falcons beat? Think about this. The teams that they beat. Go look at the rankings of the pass rush. Go look at it. Go look at where those teams at. I guarantee you, Tampa don't have a top pass rush. Saints don't have a top pass rush. Who else did they beat? They beat Tampa twice. They beat the Saints once. I'm trying to see, maybe the Eagles. At the time, the Eagles was ranked like 27 in the entire league at the time when it came to defense. My point is, anytime a team has a pass rush, they're going to lose. That's it. They're going to lose to the Chargers. You know why? Because the Chargers got one of the best pass rush in the league. They got one of the best defenses in the league. So they're going to lose. If Kirk Cousins can't stand back there and be a statue in the pocket, they're going to lose. Point blank, period. So enjoy it. Because they're going to lose to the Chargers. Yeah, they'll beat the Giants. And then they probably going to lose to the Commanders, you know, and they're going to lose to the Vikings. So I just hope it will all work it at the end of the day. But like I said, if you just so happen to, you know, end up, limping across the finish line, I ain't trying to hear from them. Because this 2-game winning streak just spoke volumes to me. Let me go ahead and read some of these comments. I had to let that be said because I can't. That's one thing that bothers me the most is when people say all these things, want to talk all that noise, and then the next thing you know, when things don't go their way, they go missing or they block you. That's whack. That's whack. I thought that it was a foregone conclusion the Falcons will win the division. I might be wrong, though, man. Hey, it might be a foregone conclusion at the end of the day, but right now they don't look the part. And I'm just telling you, like I've said this, and I'm going to continue to say it. If you look at some of them wins, there are certain circumstances that help that football team. It was rather a significant player on a team was out. It was rather, something like, I don't know, just catastrophic happens with a team, like Saquon Barkley dropping a pass or Rashid Shaheed, who never fumbled the football to the back of the end zone. It's just weird stuff like that. Like they had the ball bouncing their way. And when you have the ball bouncing your way and you start to win, you start to believe that you actually, can beat anybody. But all I'm saying is this, like, what's going to happen, like, when you go through adverse times? And I'm seeing it. And I'm very disappointed at somehow some of this stuff is transpiring, man. Shout out to the Steelers, Chris Boswell, the bird killer. Tech Hollywood. You like that? Yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins. Hey, I just want to let this be known as well. Kirk Cousins has not thrown a passing touchdown in 2 weeks. He was Mr. October, but right now he's like let me make sure I'm saying this right. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. Yes, I am being spiteful because I had to hit his nonsense. I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Hold on, give me 1 second. All right, so the Atlanta Falcons. Kirk Cousins was Mr. October, right? He was Mr. October. But let's go back. Let's take a close look here. All right, so Kirk Cousins. He will go nearly 3 weeks without throwing a touchdown. You know why? Because they got a bye week. So he didn't throw a touchdown last week versus the Saints. He didn't throw a touchdown versus the Broncos. They got a bye week, and they got to play the Chargers. So there's a possibility that dude can go the entire month, almost the entire month, without throwing a touchdown. So I do want to let that be known. He was Mr. October, but look at him in November. And that is the reason why Minnesota got rid of him. And that's the reason why you shouldn't just sit up here and just grandstand. It's not like y'all just, oh, man, Minnesota, they dropped the ball here. Like, they know what they had in the quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, I told you, is one of the biggest quarterback tees in the history of football. He's going to look like, for weeks, he's going to look like one of the best quarterbacks, and then they're going to have like a stretch where it's just like, man, what is going on? Now they clamoring for Michael Penix. Like it's going to be 2 to 3 good drafts to get the right amount of quality talent to make the Saints a good football team. Yeah, I mean, look, it might take a couple of drafts, but in the process, if you can actually get some guys and, make it competitive, I think we all know that the Saints are, not ready to compete just yet. But if you can actually win some football games all the while, like hitting out the park with the draft picks, then you got yourself something. I just think that I think that I think the Saints needed to kind of go through the Dennis Allen experience to let them know where they were as a football team. I think they needed to go through that. I think they needed to look in the mirror and realize what they were. Sometimes you got to do that. Like, sometimes you might think that you on point because for years you were on point. And then all of a sudden you might be slipping. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, man, things ain't what they used to be. And I think they needed this. I think they needed it, man. So I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the rebuild. But I also want you to win some games and be competitive. Like, if you're gonna lose more than win, and you're gonna miss the playoffs, at least be competitive. We're winning just enough to keep us out of the good draft pick, and we're still not going to make the playoffs. Bunch of bull crap. Well, look, I said this before. These guys don't think like us. These guys don't think like us. Let me give you an example. I don't know what you do for a living, Samuel. I don't know what you do for a living, right? Let's just say, for a case, I don't know if you're married. I don't know if you got kids. Let's just say you don't like your job. Let's say you don't like your job, right? And you talking about your job and you complain about your job and all that kind of stuff there. And somebody say, why don't you quit? Why don't you walk out this door and just leave and don't come back? What are you gonna think about? Now, I don't know, man. You might be Big Bang Hank around this thing. I don't know. But an average Joe Blow like myself, I can't just walk off a job. Like, I mean, I could, but I got to think about other things. I got to think about my wife. I got to think about my son. I don't think I want to have a conversation with my wife and letting her know that, okay, we're going to be a little short. You know, like you got to think about those things. My point is, we're looking at it from the outside looking in. We're looking at it from a fan perspective. When we see these guys on the field on Sunday, we see 53 players that we want to come together and win to make us feel good throughout the week. But what we miss is these are human beings with lives and families and houses and mortgages. And they keep their job and their livelihood on production. It is a production-based business. If we're looking at it from, just a fan perspective, of course, tank, flip the whole thing around, blow the whole thing up. I got the C4 in my back pocket, right? But it doesn't work like that. That's like, this is these guys' livelihoods. This is their livelihood. This is their livelihood. This is how they take care of their families. So they can't just go out there, man, hey, bro, you know what? I'm thinking about phoning it in today. Maybe a couple guys could. Like a Derek Carr or Alvin Kamara, they can phone it in because they're financially straight and they're contractually obligated. And the team is contractually obligated to them. So they could, theoretically. But these guys who are part of Last Chance U, 1-year contracts, these guys can't do that. They got to make sure that they put good tape on the field. They got to make sure that if they don't work out with the Saints, then the Eagles will call them. The Vikings will call them. The Jags will call them. So we can't look at it that way. Like in the grand scheme of things, from a fan perspective, tank. Yeah, that's what we need to do, tank. But this is how these dudes take care of their families. So let me ask you a question. Like I said, we got to humanize this thing sometimes. And we don't look at the fact that these are everyday people just like you and me. They just got an extraordinary job and they make a lot of money doing it. So I'm just saying to you, Samuel, or anybody else that feels this way, if you're complaining about your job, if you're complaining about your boss, if you're complaining about, oh man, they schedule me 3-4 days consecutively, man, how am I gonna get some rest? Why don't you just quit? Why don't you do it? Why don't you phone it in? Why don't you just say, man, that's enough for me, I'm done? Why don't most people do that? Because if you are thinking logically, you're going to think about your family. You're going to think about the obligations that you have. Baby needs some clothes. Need to put food in the refrigerator. So it's not that easy. Great sport, but there's also a business side to it. And it's also these guys' jobs. So we can't just say, man, they should tank. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. So, see, perfect time for the bye week. Offensive line help. You have to think about the quality of life that you want to live. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Says a stream keep freezing. I apologize for that. I don't, it's Spectrum. What can I say? It's the reason why I no longer have Spectrum at home, and I'm probably going to switch over to another company for the radio station because Spectrum is not very good. It's not the word I want to use, but I'm at work. You said, see, you got to carry yourself different when you're working. Not Kirk Cousins, a.k.a. Mr. October, November. Not throwing touchdowns for a month. This is who the Falcons fans were excited for at the beginning of the season, getting very, very nervous and quiet. Are we? Yeah, they're getting very quiet, but they'll be back when they win. And let's just say if the Saints lose and they win, then all of a sudden, man, yo, what y'all got to say? I'm done talking to Falcon fans. I'm done with them. Like, I'm for real. I'm done. There's only a few. Like, if a scenario happens that I just mentioned, if 2 of those individuals come in, I acknowledge it. The rest of them, Get out of my face. Like you'd already showed yourself. Grandstanding and hot dogging. Stand on business. I was standing on business when the Saints was on a 5-6 game losing streak. People was like, man, this dude here, man, this crazy work. He's still talking. The Saints lost 5 straight, lost 6 straight. Yep, still talking. Ain't gonna be talking and continue to talk. You ain't gonna never say I ain't consistent with it. The Saints need a franchise quarterback. Drew showed us how important having the right quarterback changes a team drastically. Saints need to dedicate as much resources as possible to getting the right guy under center. Well, look, I think they need to do that, and I agree with it. But at the same time, you can't just be grasping at straws here. Like, you got to make sure that you have the right guy who is made of the right stuff. And also, you got to make, rather it's assistant coach that can work with him, a quarterback whisperer. Me personally, when it comes down to like franchise quarterbacks and guys developing, I would prefer you have a coach that can develop a quarterback. And here's why. If you end up getting an assistant coach to develop your quarterback, guess what? If he does a really good job, he's going to get a head coaching opportunity. And he's going to end up going somewhere else. And then you're going to find yourself having to do the same thing over again. And sometimes that don't always work out. For example, Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen was the quarterback's coach, assistant offensive coach. He was the one that was working alongside Jalen Hurts. And that was the year where Jalen Hurts was a leading candidate for league MVP. The Eagles went to the Super Bowl. He had one of his best seasons statistically. And then all of a sudden, Shane Steichen was hired by the Indianapolis Colts. And in my opinion, Jalen Hurts hasn't been the same. Now, he's still good, but he isn't on that level that he was when Shane Steichen was his quarterback whisperer. So to me, I feel like if you have yourself a head coach that can develop that quarterback, guess what? You know for a fact that you're going to have that relationship. You're going to have that quarterback playing at a high level because he's developing them. Like Matt LaFleur. I think Matt LaFleur is a really good quarterback whisperer, a good development, a guy that can develop these quarterbacks. We've seen him do it with Jordan Love. Malik Willis came in. You've seen some positive things from him. So that would be my personal preference. Because if a guy starts to do good, he starts to like hit it out of the park. Now you're looking for another guy to replicate what he's doing. I mean, Josh Allen, he's gotten back to the level he was playing when you had Brian Daboll, Brian Daboll as his quarterbacks coach. He was playing really well. And then Daboll got the job with the Giants, and then you had a little bit of slippage from Josh Allen turning the ball over, and then they end up getting Joe Brady, firing Ken Dorsey. And, and now he is on an MVP level. So all I'm saying is sometimes when I look at that type of stuff, I'm like, I'd rather have a coach that can develop. TJ, Falcon fans know what's coming from me. Man, I'm like I said, I'm done with it. Like, I don't want to talk no more noise. I'm gonna just say what I gotta say. Man, can't none of them say nothing to me. And it's not like they don't see what I'm saying, because I'm telling you, every time when they were winning and the Saints were on that losing streak, if I say something about them, they come in droves, retweeting. So I know they see it. And ironically, once again, we're at 283 people watching this right now. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that we're talking about the Atlanta Falcons and we got 283 people. It's amazing how it works out. Let's see. Looks like Trevor Penny been playing better since the Falcons game. Yeah, I mean, he played better. A couple mistakes last game, but I don't want to be nitpicky. Like, when you think about Trevor Penny, like, we didn't think this guy had any redeeming qualities. So the fact that, we only talking about little nitpicky stuff when it comes to Trevor Penny, it's just a testament to how hard this young man works. And I ain't got nothing but respect for him, you know. And like I said, man, the apology has to be louder than the disrespect. I mean, I was extremely disrespectful, to Trevor Penny. I did not feel like he would be what he is right now or could develop into anything. So to me, I'm I got nothing but respect for him, because you know that it took a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights in order for him to play and be doing what he's doing right now. So nothing but respect for the guy. Let's see. Your great parents said hello. My grandparents, I assume you're talking about yeah. Shouts out to my grandmother. Shouts out to my grandpa. Thank y'all for watching. I appreciate that. Says, that was a good way of saying you didn't comprehend anything I said. I don't know if we having conversation in the chat. Yeah, you're right about it, that I never really thought about it from that perspective. Yeah, Sammy. I mean, look, here on this show, we talk football, but we talk life too. And I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in, and it's fair, because I mean, I do it too. We get so wrapped up in our intentions and what we want. And when a team is losing, we just want that feeling to go away. And we try to come up with these different ways and how they can improve their circumstance. But I don't know, man. Me being able to go to some of these events, I'm not saying this to brag or boast. I mean, it's just by the grace of God, and wonderful people like you, I even get these opportunities. But all I'm saying is, when I go to these places and I see these football players from a human perspective, like we see these guys in helmets and shoulder pads and stuff like that with their name on the back of the jersey. But when you see like these kids like go through the draft process, like you see like at the Senior Bowl, these guys like talking to their parents and stuff like that, and how their parents are like, did you get your cleats? Did you have your, did you get your shirt or whatever? Like they're like talking to like how you just talk to your kids, or you talk to your brother, you talk to your sister. And they so nervous and they want to do a good job. And, like you see them like going through the motions. Like you see these players like getting ready for their event at the combine. And there was one football player, he plays cornerback. And his dad was like in a crowd, with his cleats. And, he was like, ran over there to his dad and stuff like that. And, his dad had his cleats, like, I got your cleats for you. He's like, I want you to do a good job. He's like, you okay? You all right? And, he's like, yeah, I'm just nervous. I'm nervous or whatever like this. Like, everything going to be all right. And his dad like consoling him and calming him down and reassuring him. Like, you see it from a human perspective. You don't just look at these guys like, oh, man, like, oh, man, he dropped the pass. Like, these dudes really be going through the motions, and they really are everyday people. And when you see that, it's like you have to separate that player from the person. And sometimes, like, when we look at these players, we look at them doing their job, but we're not looking at it like this is an actual job. It's a fun job. Some of us wish we can do it too, but it's still a job nonetheless. And just like your job, you go there every single day, 9 to 5. If you don't show up on time, you might get reprimanded. Don't do it again, gonna get fired. Some days you don't want to be at that job. Some days you feel like walking out, but you don't. And like I said, you don't do that because you know what's important. I don't care how long you live, folks. I mean, eventually, I don't care what you go. I don't care. Like, eventually, you're going to reach a point in your life where you're going to find something that means more than you than anything that you can ever imagine. And there are times where I'm telling you, there are individuals that you get so frustrated at your circumstance and you don't go outside yourself, or you don't like just completely blow it up because you think about the individuals, or you think about that thing that you're doing it for in the first place. So when you talk about these football players and tanking, like, think about the fact that this is these guys' jobs. And just like you wouldn't walk off your job, and be like, man, I quit. Now, sometimes it gets to that point, and you're like, I don't care about the ramifications. But if you're thinking logically, you think about the people that you will have to have that conversation with, So now sometimes, you got to stand on business. I mean, but for the most part, man, you also got to think about these are human beings and this is a job. So you can't just tank. Like, man, I quit. Like I said, some guys do, like just like anybody else, you might have a little savings and be able to, keep things afloat while you're looking for another job. But, some people just live paycheck to paycheck sometimes. And you just can't walk away. Rizzi bringing a sense of energy within the team and players seem like they are buying it. But that when him the head coach, that's to be determined. Will Riz be candidate for the coaching job after? Yeah, he'll be a candidate. I mean, you got to give him some type of respect here. I mean, team look like they're responding to him. It seems like they're a little bit prepared. It don't seem like, they're out of sorts. And it seems like, guys are buying into it. So you got to give him that respect. But I'm going to say this, folks. I'm going to say this, right? Can't be prisoner of the moment. Prisoner of the moment got us in this situation in the first place. Oh, the Saints. Oh, they're a good football team. All they need to do is not mess things up. Sean Payton wants to leave. Let's keep things the way that they are. Let's hire from within. And the next thing you know, you got Dennis Allen as your head coach. So to me, even if Darren Rizzi, like I'm talking about, goes on this magic carpet ride of a run where they don't lose a game under his watch, I still feel like you need to do the process. I still feel like you need to go out here and interview some of these coaches. And to be quite honest with you, I feel like that would make this job more appealing if these guys start winning football games. If Darren Rizzi can coach these guys and motivate these guys to be able to win football games and, do the things that need to be done in order for them to compete. A guy that probably not even looking at this job seriously will probably say, man, you know what, man, they got something over there, man. I think I can actually build on that if you don't want to go there. But all I'm saying is don't just give him the job because everybody's dancing in the locker room again and you finally been able to use that multi-million-dollar stereo system and LED lights and smoke that you done put inside that locker room that basically wasn't used for nearly 7 weeks. I mean, it's stuff like that, right? Well, I don't know about 7 weeks, but at least about 4 weeks, a couple home games. But all I'm saying is you can't be prisoner of the moment. Prisoner of the moment kind of got you in this situation in the first place because you felt like you was close because, some bad luck went your way, And when you think about it, Who Dat Nation, it's kind of weird like how they keep on chunking this thing up to injuries, right? Because one would say when Sean Payton's last season, the Saints were dealing with some injuries, right? They were dealing with some hardships. With Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston goes down, tears ACL. Trevor Siemian is your quarterback. And then you had Mickey Loomis basically feeling the same way. Oh, man, it was just the injuries. We're close, right? So you hire Dennis Allen. Then the first year, the Saints go 7-10. I mean, that was the first sign. Then the second year, we went 7-10 because we didn't allow him to get his coaches. Got his defensive coaches. 9-8. Yeah, we doing it. We doing it. Not taking into account, you played Chicago without Justin Fields. You played Indianapolis without Anthony Richardson. Say what you want about Anthony Richardson, but before he got hurt in his rookie season, he was on pace to be that rookie of the year. Like you had a lot of positive breaks that went your way that made you have that 9-8 record. It was low-hanging fruit. It was a low-hanging fruit 9-8. Everybody knew it. Underhill said it. Moscona said it. I think my guy Ross Jack. I mean, everybody knew what it was, except Mickey Loomis. Because, he's looking at Dennis Allen through Bill Belichick colored glasses or something. I don't know. Then he goes in there and chews gum and tells us all that we need to look beyond the results. And, Dennis Allen is a good head football coach. And meanwhile, being oblivious to the fact that the final game of the season, where the Saints blew out the Atlanta Falcons by a score of 48-17, his coach went to the podium and threw his team under the bus. And for some apparent reason, Mickey Loomis, and maybe, I don't know, maybe he's not used to seeing that type of coaching because you had about 16 years of an authoritative figure in Sean Payton, so you didn't understand the magnitude of a coach going to the podium, apologizing to the Falcons or any team of that matter. So maybe you were just oblivious to the fact. And maybe you looked at that as a pillar of strength. But let me tell you something. Anybody that ever played sports, you already know. The team got to be on one accord. And it doesn't feel good when a team don't like the coach and it don't feel like the coach puts them in the best position to succeed. But Mickey Loomis was oblivious to the fact because he was too busy shining up that Lombardi trophy in that trophy case and sliding it over to the left because he thought that Dennis Allen was going to get him another one, not realizing that his team was basically had the patience of a high school teacher, right? Patience like a hairpin trigger. Just the slightest thing would throw this whole team out of whack. And I don't care what anybody says. Look, if the Saints really felt like they can win with Dennis Allen, even with those injuries, I still feel like they would be competitive. But that team just completely checked out. They just checked out. And this man, unbelievably, which to me, I feel like at the end of the season, Gail Benson has got to really, truly consider having a conversation with Mickey Loomis. Because Mickey Loomis was willing to keep this thing going because he honestly believed in his heart of hearts that the injuries was the reason why these guys weren't responding the way that they should. And then this is why I don't want this excuse. I don't want this excuse when people are talking about, well, Darren Rizzi, he winning because the players are coming back. Dennis Allen's final game as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints was against the Carolina Panthers, right or wrong? Well, I can't hear y'all, so I'm pretty sure you know what I'm saying. You know I'm right. Derek Carr was there. Pete Warner played. Chris Olave was out there. You had Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who you just recently signed, who automatically, as soon as he signed on the dotted line, became your second best wide receiver on your team, and you had this dude as a healthy scratch. You had Alvin Kamara. Like I said, you didn't have Eric McCoy, but you still had those offensive linemen out there. Like you had Lucas Patrick. I was at the game. You had Cesar Ruiz out there. You had the majority of your defensive players that were out there. Those same guys that are playing defense right now, they were out there. So to me, when you say, oh man, those players are coming back, they were back. So what's the difference? The difference is Dennis Allen. That's the difference. The difference is these guys actually believe in Darren Rizzi as the coach. They're responding to him. It took a bold, it took unbelievable bravery for you to sit up here and try to gaslight the Who Dat Nation into honestly believing that the injuries were the reason why Dennis Allen was the head coach, was losing as a head coach, I should say. And also, it took, an extreme amount of bravery for you to go on local radio and go on record basically saying that, well, the Saints won. They always get that interim bump. Okay. I don't know how this season going to turn out, but all I'm saying is this is the type of energy that I feel like sets your organization back. When you have an individual like this that just more focused on himself being right and not the best interest of the football team, that's dangerous stuff right there. That's dangerous stuff right there because his ego kept Dennis Allen around. His ego is the reason why we were subjected to 7 weeks of just bad football. It's pathetic. You got to learn how to cut your losses, man. You got to cut your losses. You got to be able to cut your losses, man. Like, when things don't work out, they just don't work out. Take a few more and then we're going to get up out of here. Competitively, you don't apologize to a rival for anything, regardless of if you disagree with what the team did. Stay united in public, reprimand in private. I agree. You don't throw your players under the bus. Who was the former head coach of the team? Stennis, Finnis, Menace, whatever. Go ahead, Coach Rizzi. Go. Bet the Cowboys wish they fire Mike. Yeah, but they ain't gonna fire him. They might fire him tonight. Like, depends on how they look tonight. How they look tonight, they might fire him. That, because them nationally televised football games, man, it's just, it's one thing to kind of hide those things around, 12 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock PM, like, so many other games going on. But when you the only game on TV, that's why I was like, man, how in the world do you keep Dennis Allen after that Denver game? I mean, the entire world seeing people with bags on their head, booing. I mean, dude looked like he was about to cry on the sideline. Like, Dennis Allen literally looked like he was about to cry. I don't know how you I mean, was he watching the game? But that goes to show you right there, like, to me, I don't think Mickey Loomis really cares that much about Saints fans like that. And I'm going to continue to say that. I think a lot of his decisions are based on ego, him trying to prove he can win outside of Sean Payton. Like, you don't do no stuff like that. It seemed like he feel like he had war with Saints fans when Saints fans are only just saying, like, this dude ain't it. You got executives that was around with Dennis Allen saying that he ain't it. You got players basically subliminally saying he ain't it. And you don't want saying he is. You ain't out there running. You ain't out there throwing. You ain't out there kicking. So how you think that gonna work out for you, Mr. Loomis? I'm just confused. Can we please talk about the amazing surprise job the defense did and that no one expected them to hold in the second half? Yeah, I mean, they did a really good job, man. Those young players, they won some battles, they lost some battles. That just comes with the territory. But I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. For those that are new, haven't learned about the channel or anything like that, my name is Timothy J. Jones. I'm the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And you can follow me on Blue Sky at TJAY Jones 8, as well as X at TJAY Jones 8. You can check out previous episodes of the State of the Saints podcast right here on YouTube. You can also catch me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time on the NFC South Roundtable, along with my guys Smitty, Clay, and James, representatives from each of the NFC South teams. We talk about the NFC South. We talk about our respective teams, give our opinions, have a really good time over there, man. Talk a little bit of noise every now and then, but it's all love. And also, you can follow the Gumbo Pod Sports podcast as well, man. Thank you all so much for being here. Really do appreciate it. Shouts out to everybody that checked out the watch along. We will be doing something this weekend. If you're not doing anything, we're going to do a Red Zone edition of the State of the Saints podcast. Since the Saints are on a bye week, we're going to watch. If you have the NFL Red Zone, you can come on over, and it'll be fun, man, to be able to look at some of these other teams. And sometimes it's a good thing, man, because it makes you feel like maybe you're not in it by yourself, or it gives you your team, makes you look at your team completely different, right? So we're going to do a Red Zone edition of the State of the Saints podcast this Sunday, where we're going to be looking at each NFL game on NFL Red Zone. So come on over, have a good time, chill out with your boy for a couple of hours. It'll be great. All right. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast. Please subscribe to our channel.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. It's all dog around this mug. I'm good.